Mr. President, speaking of saving money, I've talked a little bit about public radio and public television in America. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, NPR, PBS. These are public TV and radio stations. American people spend about $500 million a year, give it directly to public TV. They give it to Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Corporation for Public Broadcasting picks its favorite local TV stations and radio stations, gives money to them, and the local TV and radio stations buy programming from NPR and PBS, which is loosely affiliated with the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And there was a time when it was necessary because we only had 3 TV stations and a few radio stations, and people in rural areas depended on the government for their media. Those days are long gone, as we know. We now have a breathtaking array of ways to get information, everything from podcasts to Facebook to Twitter to Google News to cable TV to streaming. We no longer need to spend $500 million a year, or $500 billion a year. We've spent $14.5 billion since we started funding public radio and television. We no longer need to do it. I mean, we don't fund CNN. We don't subsidize CNN. And if somebody proposed to, I'd vote against it. We don't subsidize Fox News. If somebody introduced a bill to subsidize Fox News, I'd vote against it. Why are we subsidizing these radio and television stations? They need to compete with everybody else. The final point I want to make on this subject, Mr. President, the audience for public radio and public television is declining. Let me say that again. The audience for public radio and public television, which your tax dollars pay for, is declining. Why is that? There are a lot of reasons for it, but I'll tell you one. People used to tune in to PBS and NRP and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Freudian slip there, because those stations played it right straight down the middle. But they don't anymore. They're very, very biased in their reporting. We all know that. I mean, all you have to do is listen to them. Now, this is America. You're entitled. I despise opinion journalism, but it's constitutional. Under the First Amendment, you can say what you want within reason, and you're not. And I support that. You're not free if you can't say what you think. So I don't want you to misconstrue what I'm saying, Mr. President. These local stations that are getting money from the taxpayers have every right to report what they want. But they don't have a right to do it and offer a jaundiced point of view using taxpayer dollars. That's my point. And I just wanted to, as I've done in the past, I just wanted to read a few more headlines. This is the kind of reporting that's being done today with your tax money on NPR, National Public Radio, and PBS. I'll start with NPR. Here's one of the headlines at NPR. Arguments that trans athletes have an unfair advantage lack evidence to support. That's opinion journalism. Here's another headline from NPR. A brief history of how racism shaped interstate highways. I did not know our interstate highways were racist. I thought they were concrete, but not according to NPR. Here's another NPR headline. Trump embodies nearly every aspect of a racist, Arthur says. Another, The Nation, confronting Trump's coded racism. Another, is Trump's call for law and order a coded racial message? As I said, these are your tax dollars at work. Sexism is out in the open in the 2016 campaign. That may have been inevitable. It's another headline. Is Trump really that racist? Another headline. Another headline, Frontline traces the ambition and revenge driving SCOTUS Justice Clarence Thomas. NPR is reporting that Justice Thomas is motivated by revenge and ambition. Another headline from NPR, what can the White House do to confront the narrative around Biden's ability? It wasn't a narrative. I don't hate anybody, and I'm sorry this was the case, but President Biden had neurodegenerative disease. It wasn't a narrative, it was just a fact. I'm sorry, but it was just a fact. Last headline from NPR I'll read, scientists start to tease out the subtler ways racism hurts health. Your tax dollars at work. Now, I don't want to just pick on NPR. Here are a couple that you saw on that you saw on television, PBS, paid for with your tax dollars. First headline, talking to young children about race and racism. Another headline, how America's history of racism connects to divisions today. Another headline from PBS, the hidden racism of young white Americans. Your tax dollars. Another headline, AP fact check, Trump seeds race animus with COVID falsehood. Another headline, Biden trumpets economic gains but struggles to get credit. Another headline from PBS, the other Olympians, transgender athletes in the Nazi area. Come on. Give me a break. I mean, gag me with a spoon. And the final headline I'll read, debunking common myths about gender-affirming care for youth. Now, let me say it again, Mr. President. These television stations and radio stations that are getting money from the federal government, your tax dollars have every right under the First Amendment to say these things. They do. And I support the First Amendment. But they don't have an inalienable right to report these things using opinion journalism that no fair-minded American can construe as anything but representing one point of view with your tax dollars. I'm going to try to stop subsidizing media, not just PBS and not just NPR, but any form of media that somehow is getting federal taxpayer dollars. It's just not right. It's not fair. I have a bill to do that, and we're also going to pursue it through reconciliation. And I think President Trump and Mr. Musk are going to pursue it on their own, and I think that's a very good thing. And with that, Mr. President, I thank you for your time and attention, and I suggest the absence of a quorum.